Good afternoon, Stitch Roadies. Thanks for stopping by. I am getting very busy. Well, what else is new, right? What else is new? Today in the Portland area, we have blue skies with scattered clouds. It's it feels like about 60 something. Supposed to get a high of maybe the mid to high 70s today. So we got a little bit of break from our heat bubble that we had. But we are blessed with air conditioning here. Plus the way we sit in relation to the mountain is that if I open the windows on one side here, like in the beehive, and I open the windows on the other side of the house in my bedroom, the air just kind of flows through, and it's absolutely fabulous. Ooh, a bird just flew right by the window. Feel like I'm in a little tower. I can't explain what is going on. I am not, as you could see by the amount of whips that I have, that I am not a monogamous stitcher, but I have been a focused or compulsive stitcher as of late, and I'm not sure what that is. I'm not spending a lot of time dwelling on it other than noting how interesting that is. And I think we get to do what we want to do. Nobody's the boss of us. Yeah, nobody's the boss of us. I think that's why I have a hard time joining all those wonderful stitch clubs that have like an agenda, like they have a calendar or anything, because just the thought of it makes me a little bit stressed. Although I'm sure that it works very well for a lot of people, just not me. So I picked up, well, what I did, just between you and I, is I looked at all the kitted things I have up. I have a lot of things kitted, and yeah, it kind of, I made note of the fact that that's an awful lot of floss that's like in a kitted item that's not available in the public, to the general floss public, you know. And so I thought, I think I just want to work on some of these kitted up things and not the big kitted up items, because I have a couple of pretty big kits. And in my decision making, I feel like I don't want to start another big project until I've finished a big project. So, like I have land that I love, I have the dog declaration, I have the trees. So there's a few, oh, and Christmas Quaker too. There's a few big ones. And there was one, what was that one? The pandemic. The pandemic. So yeah, I have 4 or 5 big mamas. And I've decided that I don't want to start another, this is the thing, I really want to start another big one, because they're calling to me, but I really feel like I want to get at least one big one done before I start another big one. So I think I'm going to get motivated. I think it's motivating me to take a look at those big projects because I really want to start another one. But I also had a lot of smalls, or medium to smalls, that were kitted up. And so it felt so good last time when I showed you that I finished, Ida and Ira. It just felt so good to finish that. You know, it's been languishing around, and it was an anniversary start for G and I, and our anniversary comes up in September. So that's where I'm at. So I picked out, I went to, you know, I bought that, if you're new, you may not know, you'd have to go back and watch, but I bought a wood magazine rack that like goes in, I would think it'd go like in an office, like out in a dentist waiting area or doctor waiting area, would have magazines in it. Maybe people had those in their homes. But I have kitted things in that rack. So I took that rack out, and what I do every so often, it's double-sided, is that I turn it around so that I have a different view and maybe get sparked by something, and then every few weeks I turn it the other way and just see what's there. So many great projects, all of which I want to get done. But I picked out, I went through them and I said, which one talks to me? And so it was this. And it's, the fun thing about charts is that sometimes the designers will, they'll give you a really interesting story about their design. And in this case, she, Amanda May, attributes this design to Brenda and the Cereal Starter, which I think is hysterical. Apparently there's, you know, a chant that you always have to have a red sampler going. And so she designed a small one, and it's about coffee. And I know a lot of you are not coffee drinkers. We are coffee drinkers. In the Pacific Northwest, coffee is queen. And so I have a lot of coffee stitches that I've done. And this was one. Count the Cups, a petite red sampler, artist design. And I'm using that, I'm using my Morgan hoop, my small one, the 7-inch one. And now I finished the whole design, you know, on the left side of the chart, and now I'm working on the alphabet. And I just love it. I absolutely love it. And I think this is a Lugana country mocha. That's what it looks like. And the thread I'm using is Indian Summer. Yeah, Indian Summer. Is that what it is? Yeah, Indian Summer, Weeks Dye Works. I love it. I've been enjoying it. It's easier. See, I got my bifocals on. So it's easy for me to see. I really like Lugana. I really like it. I did work a little bit on my trees. I didn't bring them in here with me. But because I am getting ready to head over the mountain, G's going to be staying at home for a while, and he'll come over later, but I have to start teaching or mentoring. I'm mentoring, I call it mentoring, supporting, 5 days, all 5 days next week at the Quilters Affair. And I will be staying at the Best Western and Sisters, and so I thought I'd take some cross stitch with me, because I'll have my wool stitching with me also. But so to decide what to take, well, you know, we're heading into July 1st, which is the launch of the Fat Quarter Shop Summer Sal event, and I chose to do, I have it in my really cool coffee bag, and I got this one. These are specially made, all different designs are specially made at Acorns and Threads. And the Fat Quarter stitch along that I am very excited about, to get that first, you know, they print out each step, it's a mystery, is Letters to Santa, and I'm really looking forward to that. So I have my thread and I have my fabric all ready to go, and before I leave I'll be printing off that first step, and then each week there'll be another one. I know that many of you let me know that on the Fat Quarter Shop YouTube, Flosstube, that the creator of the Silver Creek samplers was a guest on that show. And since the chart that I'm going to be giving away, and the winner will be announced at the end of this video, let me just get it here. Silver Creek Samplers, Follow Your Heart. So all of you that followed the instructions will be posting the winner of this chart at the end. So what did I do with that? Well, if you're a quilt roadie, you would have seen what I did, because I also used leftover scraps from fabric thread zip bind by Blackbird Design, and then I had bought yardage of thread zip bind of the sampler fabrics in the green. So you might have seen that already on a previous video. I decided to make a project bag out of it, and it turned out, I have to say, it turned out fantastic. So here's the front of the project bag. So you can see that I used that thread zip bind sampler, and then, you know, got the vinyl front so you can see what's inside, and it's got that great sampler print to it. And I used the Moda Bake Shop tutorial on how to make these. I don't use the size necessarily that they have in the instructions, but I use the step-by-step on how to put it together. I just make the size fit what I want. So I took the jelly roll that I had gotten from the Fat Quarter Shop, and I made a quilt out of the back. And then I attached this stitch to the back. And I think it turned out fantastic. So when I went to attach the cross stitch to it, I backed the cross stitch with Pellon SF101. Then I turned the raw edge under 1/4 of an inch all the way around. I pinned it to the back of the bag, and then I buttonhole stitched on my sewing machine to tack it down. Isn't it? Didn't it? I mean, I'm pretty darn pleased. And then I made the front of the bag with the zipper and the vinyl, and I made a binding, and then I just hand tacked the binding down and have a fabulous project bag. Isn't that gorgeous? Yeah, I really love how this turned out. Really love how it turned out. Well, the Silver Creek floss tube that Kimberly did on the Fat Quarter Shop really got my juices going, and I decided to see what other Silver Creek, because this one, this was a piece of cake to do. I mean, the chart is well done. It's laid out very well. It's very easy on the eyes, very easy to follow. And the only thing not the only thing, that's the other chart. Okay, I'm getting my chart, I'm chart crossing. So I decided I needed to see if in my pile of accumulation, if I had other Silver Creek samplers. And when I was watching the floss tube with Kimberly, I said, oh, I have that chart. Of course I have that chart. I need to get that chart out and get it started. So I'm going to have a new start when I'm gone next week. I'm taking this with me. And you remember this one. Everything about this I love. And if you haven't seen, well, Mr. Rogers, as for many of our generation of parents who raised our kids know Mr. Rogers, there's a fabulous Netflix documentary that is, I mean, it was eye-opening for me. There were things I did not know about Mr. Rogers. I didn't know how he started, and the documentary is really, really a nice one to watch. And the reason, and I might be repeating myself here, is that when we pulled up stakes, when G was let go from his company, when his company was cannibalized twice by two other companies, and then they laid off all of the vice presidents in the company, he was like suddenly without a job. And the reason I'm telling you this is that at the time, there's things in life that just pull the rug out from underneath you. But the one thing that I know is that we are quick on our feet. And I had just had my second baby and had quit my job, was going to try my hand at being a stay-at-home mother. And G walked in the door and said I was let go with no warning. In fact, all the documentation and everything that he had that he was working on, they just came and took it. Yeah. Life isn't always fair. That is the absolute truth. But what you do can sometimes shift your outcome. And so I didn't even miss a beat. I called my boss up and I said, I want my job back. Now, I was a labor and delivery nurse at the time. And she was like, yes. And I said, well, I want my same job, the same job I just gave up yesterday. And she's like, yes. And so I went right back to work. And let's see, that was November 1st. It was All Saints Day. By December 25th, on December 25th, we had sold our home, packed up a U-Haul, and headed to Oregon, just like that. And because Greg wasn't working for that like month and a half, he and a friend came up here and looked for a place for us to live, and they found a rental in Sisters, Oregon. So the change for our family was incredible, because not only had he been let go, which was a huge emotional adjustment, I was in my postpartum period with a new baby and another child, and moving to another state away from my family, and our whole lives, the pattern of our lives changed. And so then I changed jobs within that month. This is like a blah, 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 blah story. But I realized that I really wanted to work in a department that had more deliveries. Because back then, the hospital I was working in, maybe 8 deliveries a month. I was bored out of my gourd. I lasted there probably not even a month or so. And then I started working in Bend, Oregon, and we moved to Bend. But what happened to the pattern of our family was that G became a stay-at-home dad, back when that wasn't even a thing. I mean, he used to say he'd take our kids to the park, and the dads, if there was another man with his kids, they didn't, like women kind of gather and gab and how's your kid, and they want to talk about all kinds of things, even when you're a stranger in a park. But the men, it was kind of a lonely time. But he would watch Mr. Rogers, because our older son was school age, and our younger son was still a baby, a toddler. And so whenever I would come home, G would say, I would say, how was the day? And he would say, Mr. Rogers likes me just the way I am. So it's always been quite a personal thing. Mr. Rogers was almost like a personal family member, and hence I have a quilt that I made for G that hangs in the next bedroom. A Mr. Rogers quilt. So when I saw this, when I saw this, I knew that I had to stitch it for him. And having seen that floss tube, I decided that, yes, Silver Creek sampler. I just know that this is going to be a well-made chart, and it's going to be easy to read. So I'm taking that with me on my little trip. And I have got all the floss ready in my floss book that's made by Audrey, Stitchy Witch 42. Isn't that cool? And I have a card, it has a library card in there where you can write things, but I just love that. I think it's just really sweet. So that project is all ready, kitted up and ready to go. I am going to take this project with me to finish up, but the thing yesterday that got me about this project, 3, 4, 5, is that here in the cup, I can't find the number 6. I can't find the number 6. Now, I don't know if she intended that the steam to be the number 6, but maybe that's what she intended. But all the rest are separate from the steam, and there's no number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. Interesting. Designers are interesting. The other project I decided to take with me was Luminous Fiber Arts. I just love her designs. and I loved this one. And I said, it's time to get this one going. And luckily for me, I had the called for silk. It's, and the fabric there, it's a teddy bear, Belle Soie teddy bear. So, and just for your own information, the way when I cut fabric for a project, when I get fabric from Acorns and Threads, and they, you know, they do that stitch all along the outside edge, but when I'm doing it at home, I use fray check, and I just run a fray check line all the way around the edge, and it works perfect. It takes not even a minute to do, and I'm done. And so that just looks really pretty, doesn't it? It's a variegated Belle Soie. So I'm taking that one. In fact, I really can't wait to start that one. So I have these two that I'm taking because I'm going to be pretty busy. I don't think I'll have a lot of stitching time, but you know how us stitchers are. We cannot sit with idle hands. I cannot sit and watch TV with idle hands. Yeah, so I think that might be all the stitchy news I have. I've been watching on Netflix Rescued by Ruby. It's a sweet movie, like no, you know, it's like it's listed under the feel-good category. So I think you'll like it. It's about a incorrigible shelter dog who gets picked up to be trained as a police search and rescue type dog, you know, so Rescued by Ruby. And so I'd recommend that if you just want to have a moment to have something to watch that doesn't make you crazy. Doesn't make you crazy. I'm looking forward to getting back to Acorns and Threads, so I just am really anxious to look at what's there, and the annex is awesome. I did this whole little video when I went there last time of the new inventory that had come in, and I accidentally deleted it. I know, it's the craziest thing. But that's it. Wow. I'll put some links down below. And the winner of that Silver Creek chart will be listed at the end. And you guys get out. You know, I actually sat outside in my backyard at the table and stitched. It was like I felt like so luxurious. And I know that some of you now on the other side of the world are heading into winter. But I can't help but just go, oh, it's just so lovely to be outside. And I was so envious when you were. Okay, well, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you the next time around. Keep stitching, take care of your heart, and we'll see you again.